Hello, my name is Christopher Jackson, and in this presentation, I'll walk you through my full penetration testing workflow for exploiting Keyoptrix Level 2 and escalating privileges to root. I'll cover reconnaissance, vulnerability discovery, exploitation using burp suit and command injection, privilege escalation with exploit 9545, and finally, post-exploitation steps, including persistence. We've got a lot to cover. Let's begin. Before exploitation, I validated that both machines were on the same host-only network by using ifconfig and running a ping test. After confirming connectivity, I ran an nmap scan on the Keyoptrix target. The scan showed that port 80 was open, which indicated that the primary attack surface would be the web application hosted on the target. After identifying port 80 as open, I browsed to the Keyoptrix web interface at 192.168.56.6. The login page used a simple PHP form, so I opened the page source to see how inputs were handled. Right away, I saw the username and password fields were not sanitized, which is a common web security issue. That told me the login form was likely vulnerable to command injection, giving me an entry point to exploit the system. Next, I configured Firefox to forward all web traffic to burp suit on 127.0.01 port 8080. This allowed burp to intercept the login request from the Keyoptrix web interface, modify parameters, and prepare the payload used for command injection. After reviewing the login page behavior, I navigated to the admin console and found a ping form. This form takes user input and sends it directly into a system command, which makes it an ideal entry point for command injection. From here, I began testing whether the ping feature could execute more than just ICMP requests. Next, I tested the ping form by entering my Kali virtual machine's IP address. The server responded with real ICMP results, confirming that the backend was actually executing system commands. This told me the input field was injectable and a strong candidate for command injection. After confirming the ping page executed OS commands, I injected a bash reverse shell payload. My netcat listener on port 444 immediately received a connection from Keyoptrix 2, and I then gained an interactive shell as the Apache user, ultimately establishing my initial foothold. At this stage, I only have Apache user privileges. These checks help confirm where I stand before escalating to root. After gaining shell access, I ran uname tac-a to identify the operating system and kernel version. The server was running CentOS 4.5 with kernel 2.69-55.el, which is well documented to contain multiple privilege escalation vulnerabilities. This validated why the exploit chain worked and confirmed that the system was susceptible to root compromise. For additional confirmation, I ran lsb_release tac-a to pull the OS release information. The output showed CentOS 4.5, which is an extremely outdated and unsupported distribution. When combined with the old kernel version, this further validated why the system was vulnerable and why the exploit chain succeeded. After identifying that the system was running an outdated 2.6 kernel, I searched exploitdb for privilege escalation vulnerabilities that matched this version. I found exploit edb tac id 9545, which targets the sock send page vulnerability. This exploit is specifically designed for older CentOS and RHEL kernels like the one on Keyoptrix, confirming a reliable way to escalate from Apache user to full root access. In this step, I confirmed that exploit edb tac id 9545 matched the Keyoptrix kernel version. Since the Apache user has limited permissions, I moved into the writable /tmp directory. I then used wget to pull the 9545.c exploit from my Kali Python HTTP server. The successful download confirmed that the file was transferred correctly and ready for compilation. After transferring the exploit, I compiled 9545.c on the Keyoptrix machine using GCC, which then produced the executable 9545. Because this kernel requires offset guessing, I tested several parameters until one successfully opened as a root shell. Running the ID command confirmed I gained root privileges, completing the privilege escalation step. After gaining full root access, I created a new local user named Jackson and set a password to Jackson as well. This shows how an attacker can establish persistence on a compromised system. I verified the account by checking etc/password, which confirmed the new user had a valid shell and home directory. After creating the new user, I logged out of the exploit shell and authenticated directly on the Keyoptrix Level 2 console using the credentials Jackson. The login was successful, which confirms persistence. I also ran a simple ping test to verify normal functionality. This demonstrates that the new user exists outside the exploit environment and has full working access. In conclusion, in this lab, I walked through the full attack chain on the Keyoptrix Level 2 target. I exploited a command injection vulnerability, gained a reverse shell as the Apache user, and then escalated to root using exploit 9545. After achieving root, I created a persistent user to maintain access. Overall, this demonstrated the full process of recon, exploit, and post-exploitation, showing how a single web flaw can lead to total system compromise. Until next time, goodbye.